All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Stability Opportunity podcast series. We've launched this series in response to what's happening out there. And we've got a special guest who's back with us after, I think, a couple of years since doing some live prospecting. He's going to join us. He's with us to do some live prospecting, to demonstrate some things in action. And so if this is your first time joining us, we're on episode number 6 in a row of a daily series where we're bringing out some of the best, if not the best, agents, coaches, speakers, and trainers who are listening to what's happening, responding to it, coming up with game plans. We're bringing them on here so that way you can take action from what's being said, spoken, and done amongst all the inner circles, amongst all the communities. And we're trying to help do the right thing right now to keep the energy, momentum, and your positivity as high as possible, not to forget also productivity. And so when it comes to productivity, Blair Ballin is back. Ballin, Blairin, Blairin, put those two together. You get what you're going to see today is a demonstration of how to do expired prospecting in today's environment. But before we get into that, we're going to spend a little time connecting, and I want to address some of the questions that we get every single episode, and they change. The answers change as we get into them. And so, Blair, thanks for joining us. How's it going out there?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about your market. Where are you at, and how would you say the conditions are where you stand?
Absolutely. So Phoenix, Arizona, the market's definitely been impacted in some way. Pricing, no. It's only, the pandemic's been around for a while, but the actual impact probably started at its greatest point last week, where we started to see slightly increased inventory as well as slightly increased amount of cancellation. So that's happening. There's agents out there that are freaking out. There's clients and customers that are freaking out, rightfully so. But the reality is people still always buy and sell. Nothing will ever change that. The numbers or quantity of that might change, but the market's still hot. There's still multiple offers. There's still business to be had, whether it's sellers, buyers, whatever. People are out there still transacting. It's our job to be in front of them, to help them, to make sure that they're aware of what's actually going on. And that's really some of the most important information I think I can give someone, is that even if we make a call and that customer says no, the reality is we still need to be in front of them, letting them know people are still buying homes right now. People are still selling homes. It's up to them to make their decision that's best for them and their family, but it's still a very, very hot market. Our top statisticians are expecting that there will be next to no impact on pricing in our market, period. Whether it's in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. There's going to be increased inventory, which someone could argue supply and demand, it's going to bring pricing down. Not going to happen here. There's still business to be had, and I'm guessing there's still business to be had everywhere.
So what's keeping you busy?
It's really just my mindset that there's an opportunity out there. So with fear, with struggle, whatever, there's opportunity, and I want to seize that opportunity. It's nothing really beyond that. It's not that I'm specializing more in buyers or expires or sellers or whatever. It's every day I wake up and where's that opportunity that I can be in front of and get, that someone else either isn't getting or doing the best job that they can. So I wake up and I want that opportunity, and I'm going to do everything to get it, and as much of it as possible.
So where have you seen the opportunity shift towards the last week or two?
So a lot of my focus has been buyers. I do contact sellers. More sellers are probably getting a little bit leery to list their home right now. However, we're in a market where the iBuyers, so the Open Doors, the Zillows, the OfferPads, they arguably started and they thrived. And last week they pulled from the market, from purchasing. So one opportunity, not every agent listening to this is going to have the same opportunity, but the opportunity for me has been finding those people, homeowners that were under contract with an iBuyer, regardless of where they were in the transaction, a day away from closing, a month away, whatever. Those iBuyers pulling from that transaction, finding that homeowner, and seeing if there's a way that we can step in to help them excuse me, to still accomplish their goal of selling their home, whether it be to another cash buyer or the open market or whatever.
Are some of those iBuyers actually listed on the MLS?
So the iBuyers, their listings would be, but these would be all of the purchases that they were doing. Probably, I would say, I don't know, so I'm just making up a number, but 60% off market. So finding homeowners through whether it's social media, or whatever, with like a video that I did, let's say, or a Facebook group to say, here I am. If you were under contract with these iBuyers, it's extremely unfortunate. Just reach out to me to see what options are available to you.
So, focusing on expireds, why are you choosing those right now as a lead type to prospect?
So the first would be, I've always enjoyed calling expireds. So it's just a part of my business. At times, have I not called? Yes, but generally speaking, they've always been something that have propelled my business to some degree, whether the success directly I had with them, or because I'm such a competitive person, just the idea that I make a call or calls and I'm able to reach someone and I'm able to convert them into a client is to me just mentally rewarding. So it propels my business in other aspects. And if I look back at all years of my business, um, every good year was basically preceded by calling expireds. Whether I
Hmm.
did well with expireds or not, it was just the expireds drove it. So the other is, I think right now more people are home, so there's a better possibility of contact ratio, which is something many agents always wonder about and complain also. So I think more homeowners are home right now, so gives us a better chance to reach them. And then lastly, um, not trying to disparage anyone, but I think less agents are calling right now.
Hmm.
They're wondering, should they call? This isn't the time to try. So there's just less competition all the way around, and more people that can answer the phone. So what better time to deliver what we as realtors should be doing? Our quality professional service, letting someone know what's going on. It's not, hey, it's Blair, you need to sell your home now. That's garbage. It's delivering a value that they're in need of right now. I spoke to someone yesterday who was under the impression that, like, in a week the market is tanking and they are going to keep their home and they're going to turn it into a rental and wait for it to tank more so they can buy a different property to move in. And I told him what's actually going on, and he was extremely grateful for that. And that's the kind of service that we should be delivering right now, and that's what the public is in need of. They hear the news, and regardless of which station or whatever, and they probably think the market's tanking by 30%, and it's not what's happening.
Yeah, the stock market and the real estate market aren't the same markets.
Yes.
And I see people responding to the stock market and they see their net worth, paper worth being impacted. And then all of a sudden they start to translate that into either other people are in pain and I want to go out and make lowball offers as a buyer, or I'm a seller and I have to do some sort of drastic action that isn't actually aligned with the market. I really like what you said a couple minutes ago or 30 seconds ago about that conversation. Could you tell us what that conversation sounded like a little bit?
With the homeowner about the market tanking.
Yeah. Yeah. What, like, get
So,
into some of those details because I'm sure agents listening to this are having similar conversations. And so if you could provide that dialogue to us and hear it, I think it would help a lot of people out.
you got it. So basically, this is someone that I've been in touch with for a while. So we've already had some rapport. I've never met this individual, and they were looking. When I say they, the family, so him, his wife, and they have kids. So they were looking to buy a place no later than April, which included in the process selling their existing home. So I haven't been in touch with them for, let's just say, 2 months or so. Called him up yesterday, and the conversation was basically, so he's also in the um, his life where he might be making a job or a career change, I should say. So all of this was discussed. And he's like, so I've been discussing this with my wife, and we wanted to be in a place by April, but we're basically hearing that the market's going down. So we're thinking that we're going to make our current home into a rental and wait for the market to go down more so we can buy a property at a discounted rate when that happens. So now we still have that. We're getting the income from our rental, and we're getting the benefit of the lower price on the purchase. So I asked some other questions. I'm not remembering which one specifically, but I wanted to find out why the rental was important, or what that was accomplishing. Was it the cash flow, tax write-off? Was it that they had some super low payment and they just thought they could cash flow really well? Was it they wanted to build a real estate portfolio? So asking whatever questions are relevant from that conversation that the agent thinks is important. So I got all of that information, and I basically came back with, so at this time, the statisticians that I study from, there's a local company that puts out a report and a commentary to say what I discussed earlier, that at this time, there's no sign the market's going to go down from a pricing standpoint. We are, at this time, going through a pandemic. We're not going through a real estate decline like 2007, 8, 9, 10, and whenever. So when this goes away, now granted, there's still going to be after effects and all that stuff, but when the pandemic gets under control, that the real estate market will not have suffered pricing wise. Will people have lost their jobs? And this is the discussion I'm having with this individual. Will people have unfortunately lost their jobs? Yes. That doesn't necessarily equate to pricing going down. So if you're thinking that it's best to turn your home into a rental, that's fine. You can potentially build wealth from it, get income, but you're not necessarily going to gain on the purchase side from my standpoint, because what if prices go up? What if interest rates go up? What if, because this is an election year, historically interest rates always go up with that, or almost always, you're just going to be paying more on the purchase in some fashion. None of us can really predict the future, but historically, that's what the statistics point to. So what's the benefit of really waiting to buy? And I said, like, I can't force you to sell and buy, and I can't force you to wait and buy. I can only offer you the professional advice that at this point I believe in, which is I don't believe it's best to wait to sell, because if what you're waiting to have happen, which is the market going down, that means your home is going to go down, so you lose your equity. The rental market might go down, because if the market goes down, then in theory everything goes down.
Sure.
So the plan that you had to wait to buy is just going to impact you on the rental, even if you have no desire about the amount of equity you have. You're just going to not really reap the benefits that you're thinking about. And he's like,
Yeah.
wow, I had never really thought of it that way. Like, we just hopped on Zillow and we found out what the Zestimate was for the rental, and we're like, maybe this is a better idea. And he was so grateful that I gave him that information. And now I'm going to be sending him periodic video updates about the market, and just super grateful. What he ends up doing with that, I have no idea, but I felt really good for delivering something that he otherwise wasn't aware of. And that's exactly what's very important right now.
Thanks for sharing that. And I'd like to do a little quick breakdown. I was listening for the benefit of our audiences and kind of breaking what you were saying up into steps and pieces. So that way, both people watching this, and we have a team right now who's voraciously taking notes. Tony, he's behind the scenes right now trying to find all the bits and pieces. And so afterwards, anybody who's on the subscriber list to watch these shows at theredx.com/blog, we send out emails and are putting together a tip sheet. He's going to put those in there. So I'd like to break down what you've just said before actually jumping into the live sessions. And one, for the personality types out there, disc profile. I can tell you're an analytic, right? Statistics and explaining, right, the numbers. And so there's a percentage of our audience who are analytics, and this is going to be even super helpful for them, that you followed up, and your script essentially was talking about the actual economic system, if you want to call it that, how it really works, right? If you want to say how it really works out there, anybody delaying the sell, here's how it really works. What you just said, we're going to provide in the show notes on what to say when somebody has these objections or these false beliefs or assumptions, because that's really what they are, is assumptions, not even objections. And you're helping them understand the assumptions that they didn't even realize they made in order to get them to the next step, right? And I would say that one of the sources, or a couple of the sources, as a real estate agent such as yourself are going to, are sources like Keeping Current Matters. They're a great group of people who put together market information. They always know how to position the language that allows agents to articulate what you just said as cleanly and simply as possible, that gets the response of buyers and sellers to take action. So I would throw that out as a resource right now. If you could list maybe one or two other places you go to that helps you sound competent, that would be great for our audience to hear.
So I don't know if it will help people out of state. The report that, or the company that I was referencing, is called the Cromford Report. They're statisticians here in Phoenix that compile all the data. I don't believe they do it nationwide. And then Keeping Current Matters is another one. Outside of that, there really isn't a national-based company that I look to.
Okay. And I think between those two, and even just Keeping Current Matters by itself, I think would be more than enough. They give you the slides, they give you the deck, they give you the videos to watch and share. And then I would say the last thing, which if you could help the audience understand, you talked about videos and updates that you send to keep them engaged. Could you talk a little bit more about what you send and how you send it?
So this is very recent. So it's not like I've done a lot of it, but basically getting my iPhone, shooting a video, unedited, nothing fancy, maybe doing some program to use captions on it. The program I use is ClipScribe, super easy to use because tech-wise, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I throw it in there, it spits it out with captions. But anyway, then using, whether it's a program like MailChimp or whatever, to deliver that video, or even just texting the video to a client, past customer, or past client, I should say, or a customer, of just letting them know, here's a 2-ish minute video about what's going on in the market. Super, super simple, doesn't take that much time, and just making sure that we're continuing to stay in front of them in some fashion so they can know what's going on. So also, last week, sending a video just as things really started to blow up, a specific video to all clients that are under contract, saying, hey, maybe you guys have had some concerns about the market. I didn't say, have you thought about backing out from your current contract? But that would, I think, not be that intelligent. But delivering them to them the news, exactly what I just said, that at this time, there's no sign that pricing is going to go down. So, you guys might be concerned. I'm here to help. I'm here to answer any questions. And every sign is pointing to, just like I just said, once this thing goes away, things are going to be okay. There's going to be some impact, on employment or whatever, but you guys are good. The purchase is still good. I still support it, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And we're going to work on taking what we just talked about and putting into a step-by-step slide. So if you're following us on Instagram or on our Facebook page, you'll be able to get those there. And so why don't you move us now into the next step of our time together, and let's get ready for some live prospecting.
All right, cool. So give me a little bit to log in and get that all set up.
Fantastic. So we've got, for those watching right now, a fantastic lineup of other speakers. Another one today, actually. We got Ricky Caruth showing up later in this week.
Awesome.
I look forward to that. Dirk Zeller, Jason Morris. Let's see. Next week, we're all booked out with so many people, I can't even keep track of it, actually. Tell you what, that this has provided us, just like we're talking about the show, stability and opportunity. Our team has risen to the occasion, and we are working at double speed in a way that I think we've always wanted to be here. And this has provided us the opportunity to do things like this that normally I don't think we'd have the opportunity to come together with you and a lot of the other people that we're bringing on the shows.
So I got a question for you guys. Am I able to share my screen or no?
I don't think it's the best idea to show your screen, only because there's contact information from other people that probably is not best for the world to see.
Okay. All right. So so all of my data is obviously through you guys. In my opinion, you have the best data that's out there. So I export data to Mojo. Mojo is the dialer that I use. So I'm going to be doing a triple line dialer to expireds from really any point. Let's just call it like October of last year to probably December. My opinion right now, the new expires are not necessarily the ones that I have found greatest benefit in. Doesn't mean they can't work. That's just not my preference. So I will be hitting a 3-line dialer on those once they come up.
Do you have the ringer?
It hasn't started yet, but yes.
Oh, okay. Just wondering. It's your preference, but. And here we go. Super.
Is that audio okay?
I think we need to get a little bit louder.
So it's starting to dial. So as it goes through after a call, if you want to let me know how that sounds, let me know.
Okay. Yeah. And what's the date range on these expireds?
Please leave your message for 9 hours.
October through December of last year.
Okay. And why that date range?
No specific reason. Just didn't want very recent ones.
Would you mind if I ask questions in between calls?
I would not.
You would not mind. Okay, great. Because Julie asks, curious, when you dial, do you dial all the numbers for a particular contact?
Let me just wait for this round and then I'll answer that if that's cool.
Absolutely.
So I know I tend to give really long answers, and yes, I'm super analytical. The quick answer is no. I probably, like, let's say if there's more than 4 numbers, I probably delete the numbers after that and then call all the other ones, and then continue to call those until I'm able to remove the number or the contact.
Okay. Julie, does that help you out if you're watching? Any other questions?
And I think right now I have it set to just call the first one in the list, mostly because I've dialed already and removed so many numbers. I don't have it on the other option, whatever call hammer or whatever Mojo calls it.
Okay. And how many numbers are kind of in your list of, or contacts are in your list of dials today?
So in this call session, there's 96 addresses.
And about how many numbers is that? About 300, 400?
Yeah, I would assume it's around 300-ish. Yeah.
You bring something up. You don't know you brought this up for me, but it made me realize that in yeah, in every single one of our live prospecting sessions that we've done before, I typically ask routine questions, and I've found that a healthy, stable, consistent routine is one of the common things amongst all of our top prospectors and customers.
You're good.
And now that we've kind of shifted a little bit away from the routine, it's funny how even on these calls that I've been doing, we haven't talked about routine a lot. But yesterday, the CEO of the company, Mark Leck, mentioned how important it is, even more so now, as we work from home and we're remote, not just to roll out of bed, put the laptop on your lap, and just kind of do whatever, but to treat every day that you're working like a normal work day. Get dressed, have your breakfast, have your coffee, do your exercises, and try to have that commitment to the time that you normally would do things in place. That way it adds a layer of normalcy and productivity. And so I just wanted to bring that up again, because I think talking about your routine, and I feel like you're just probably doing it without even realizing it still. And if you could, in between these calls, give us a little bit of insight on those.
Sure. So something I'll add to that also, which probably is along the same lines, is one of the best pieces of advice I can give anyone watching or anyone calling expireds, or really just in business, period. Hi, is Ronald there? Is that what's going to happen on this session right now? We don't know whether one person answers, no one answers, or 50 people answers. Historically, probably one or two are going to answer, which historically might not turn into an appointment. And I'm okay with that because I know it's a numbers game. I know that if I continue to do the routine of making these calls, something will come from it and something good will come from it. So I'm judging my business on the actions that I'm taking, not the results. Now, over time, if I end up not getting results, there's going to be a problem.
Sure.
But I can boil it down to what the problem was. Was it the data, which in this case, it's never the data. And I truly mean, you guys have the best expired data. So you guys didn't tell me to do this. Anyone watching, I truly mean this. REDX has the best data. So it's never the data that's the problem. So then is it the time of day that I'm calling? Is it the script I'm using? Is it my tonality? I'm sitting now. Normally I'm standing. Is it whatever? Is it time of year? Is it whatever? But just continuing to do the actions. Like you guys are going to talk to Ricky and Jason Morris and Dirk Zeller used to be my coach. All those guys, in my opinion, have far better scripts and tonality than I do, and they dominate stuff. I don't feel that I have that. So I'm going to make up for that in the amount of calls that I make. And in doing that, I'm going to see the results that I need. But regardless, it's still the actions that I'm taking. And once I stop making those actions, my business goes down. And I can back that up by data showing anytime I stop making the calls, I'm not going to see the results that I want to see. And it's depressing. But all it comes back to is not having that routine of whether it's calling for half an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours a day, whatever it is. So yeah.
You just kind of lit a match under me for something right now. And
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you. I want to explain what I'm feeling right now to the audience about what you said. And that part of what we're trying to uncover right now is the habits and routines. The fundamentals that worked before the pandemic are still the same fundamentals that will work during the pandemic. And what you just talked about, the basics of prospecting, the math of the money, that the routine of prospecting hasn't changed. And how many dials are you making? How many contacts are you having? How many conversations are turning into whatever next steps? And that might be where the adaptation comes into. You might not be going on the listing appointment, especially if you're in a lockdown state right now, but you're making the contacts and you're doing the energy and you're putting in the effort. And whereas before, maybe the time to value was shorter, meaning if you called an expired, you had the opportunity to go see them right now. And like you said, if you do the actions, you focus on the process, the results will show up. And so I feel like coming back to fundamentals, bringing that up, helping agents who are feeling kind of like they don't have anything to do today to kind of snap back into what's always worked, what will continue to always work, and to listen to what you're saying. And even if you don't have the greatest tonality or the greatest script, if you perform the process, if you call the expireds, you call your leads, and you go into the motions,
Okay.
looking into the script, I look forward to actually hearing you deliver, will then help us understand what to say, because we know what to do. I think that's part of it. What to say, I think, is the next part of it.
Well, and another thing is, from all of my years of calling, hi, is Michelle there? All right, thank you. From all of my years of experience of calling expireds, and by no means am I the greatest. The greatest expired caller out there, but it's rare to, in my opinion, call an expired that it immediately says, "Come over and list my home." It happens, but it's rare. So a lot of this is the long-term game. And had I been calling more expireds at some points in the past, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year ago, I would have more of a database to be able to call now for them to be able to know that I'm there. That doesn't mean I haven't had any. I'm actually working with 2 expireds right now, one that I've already listed and one that I expect to list in a week or so, that are 3 to 12 months old, that I did the follow-up game with, that all started on a session like this, or a follow-up with a text or whatever, that allowed me to list their home or to list their home. So again, if I you know however many calls today and I don't reach anyone, I'm okay with that, because I will continue to call this list in addition to other lists from REDX, and continue to nurture them in some fashion, continuing to call, text, email, whatever. And once I get them on the phone or in a text, then that leads me to the next step. So it's that continued action or that routine. And I'm okay continuing to do that because I know that I've seen the success from it, and that's where the gold is. I don't necessarily always look at these initial calls as the goal. They lead to the goal, and maybe if there's gold there immediately, I'm cool with that. But I don't make these calls and then hang up and say, I called 100 people, no one answered, I didn't get any appointments, the data sucks, expired sucks. That's not, I didn't get any appointments. That's not how it works to me.
I love how you've just laid down the reality of it. And so you're saying no matter what the market conditions,
You're good.
no matter what the marketing conditions are or what lead type you're calling, expireds, FISBOs, sphere of influence, it is a follow-up game.
Totally. Yep. If there's ones in there that will list right away, awesome, and I'm all for it. But I'm not going to judge my activity on the result. And actually, Dirk taught me that, and it was a game changer for me, because if you're going to continue, you're going to judge the result. You're not going to probably continue calling expireds or doing open houses or whatever. And it's the repetitive action of whatever, with anything. And right now, so far, Mojo is showing that I've made 22 dials, which seems like I've made more, but no one has picked up yet. This is pretty common, and would I want more people to pick up? Of course, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to continue calling this list, and eventually someone's going to answer, and eventually someone's going to be open, benefiting from my services, and that's what we need to do.
So you've called expireds in the last couple of days, I imagine, and you've had some conversations. And so we wait for a pickup. Could you kind of have what that opening dialogue sounds like? Because we always get those questions, and especially now. What we're always like, what does he say, right? What does he say? We've talked about what you're doing. You're doing it right now. Let's get into the saying part. How is your script? What was your script before, if you want to call it a script? And what does it sound like now?
Sure. Let me, it's just finishing up too, so that I can focus on that. So my script has pretty much stayed the same for the past 5 years or so. The only time it was different when I was calling expireds from like 2007 in 2015. Outside of that, the script, which I don't call it a script, but it is a script, has always been the same. So it's, hey, John, this is Blair. I saw your home came off the market. Is it still for sale? Or, and I have several scripts that I choose from either because I forgot the other one going into that session, or I'm just in the mood for a different one or whatever. Um, hey, John, this is Blair. I saw that your home was on the market last year. Have you sold it? Or, hey, John, this is Blair. I saw that your home was on the market a couple years ago and the market wasn't doing as good. The market's picked up. Have you thought about selling again? So I choose from those scripts totally randomly. When someone answers, maybe they answer in a different tonality, and then I think they're more rude or whatever. And then I choose one of those or whatever, and then I stick with it. Or maybe I make 5 calls and no one answers, and then I choose the other one or whatever. Either way, those are the ones I pick from. And I do not leave voicemails.
Have you noticed the responses from the expireds you've been calling has changed? Or are they just still, I would say, operating under business as usual?
Hi, is Lou there? Hi, Lou. This is Blair with Conway calling about your home in Scottsdale.
We sold that.
Oh, you did. Wonderful. Do you by chance have any other properties in the area that you might need help with?
No, we don't at this time.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time and have a wonderful day.
Okay, bye.
No, I don't. It's always the same. I mean, I think there's this mindset thinking from agents that people are freaked out. They're home. They have all these masks, no toilet paper, and they're sitting by and they're all like freaked out and watching news, and they don't have any food to eat or whatever. Like they come up with all this stuff. It's all stuff. Like that's all it is. It's the same response as it always is. I've sold my home, F off or whatever. Or what I am finding, the conversations I'm able to have, like a true conversation, not I've sold my home, whatever, like that. They are craving for someone to deliver them a conversation and then a conversation about real estate. And I truly mean this. One conversation I had a couple weeks ago, expired listing from December, and they'll be listing their home in January with me. And it was a delightful, like 25-minute conversation where the lady basically said, "Oh my God, I wish you would have called me then. I never answer my phone. I'm so glad I picked up." And it was awesome. I was so happy to have it, and she was so happy. And now we have this professional relationship. People are craving,
Bye, you can carry that.
craving insightful professional conversations right now.
You know,
Okay, I'm not done right now, but if you
we're getting some questions coming in right now. A couple more from Julie and Cheryl, both asking about voicemails. Do you leave voicemails? And if so, what do you leave?
I do not leave voicemails. My opinion is, what? Stacy there?
just okay.
Hey, Stacy, this is Blair with Conway, calling to see if you still own the home on Onyx or if you sold it.
I own it, yes, ma'am.
You-
Is this Conway?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What is Conway?
Okay, yeah, my name is Blair. I'm with Conway. I saw that it was on the market last year, and I was just wondering if you thought about selling it again.
No, thank you.
Okay, so did your plans change or anything else happen? So I don't leave voicemails. While I have multiple numbers, I feel that if you leave the voicemail, regardless of what you say on it, it gives that homeowner or person a number to track from. They now know you're a realtor, and the likelihood of them picking up the next time, I feel, is less or smaller. So I choose to just keep calling.
And you have multiple numbers. Do they have different purposes?
Um, uh, uh, Ultimately, the purpose is just so I'm harder to be tracked.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see. Julie asks also, she's getting a one-on-one session here, Q&A. Go, Julie.
Hey, Julie.
Do you use a CRM outside of REDX? And if so, which one?
Yes, is Mr. Huang there? Mr. Huang? All right, thank you. So expired wise, no. REDX is the only data that I use, and it all gets funneled to Mojo. So Mojo operates as my CRM for that. In my business, yes, there's other CRMs I use for buyer leads and database and all that stuff. And I'm happy to share what they are if someone's interested. But for expired data, it's just REDX and Mojo.
Yeah, we're not trying to plug any products, even our own. I mean, I'm not asking you to. I'll plug them when I hear the moment, but we never actually. It's funny. Every time we bring someone on, they end up talking about how great we are, and there's never ever a conversation beforehand about that. So thanks for saying great things about us. But also, again, not trying to plug products, just trying to give resources. That's where I stand on this, is that if you could go down the list for anybody listening on kind of your stack of resources and how you use them, I think that'd be incredibly beneficial for people.
Awesome. So I'll preface what I'm about to say is that I feel like I've tried almost everything out there, programmized data. I've side by sided data you with Vulkan and other programs. And in my opinion, REDX has the best data. So I've tried other dialers, and in my opinion, Mojo is a very good one. As far as other programs, I recently made the switch to Follow Up Boss, and I have YLopo. So YLopo generates buyer leads for me, or leads. They get funneled into Follow Up Boss, and I will sync. And I also have a dialer in Follow Up Boss, but I will Mojo's is better. I will sync the data in Follow Up Boss to Mojo, so I can hit the triple line dialer and there. So Mojo, and I also have Boomtown from some older leads, online leads. So I use Mojo, REDX, Boomtown, Follow Up Boss, and YLopo.
Got the stack. Intrude for you. That's what we. That's the only way to do it. Julie, once again, getting some attention here. Thank you, Julie.
Awesome.
Sometimes one phone will ring and then another phone will ring. Do you think that affects you, and how do you handle that when you're prospecting and you get multiple calls inbound?
So, so as far as the possibility of potential people, multiple people answering at the same time, Julie, I have yet to ever hear from someone. So if someone calls me back on the number I'm calling from, I very rarely return that call. They leave a message, then I return it. But that rarely happens. So I have never run into the situation where more than one person answers. So I'm talking to one, the other one gets hit with the callback message of, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hear me? I'll call you right back. Where I call them right back, they answer and they're like, "Oh my God! Like why are you using this robo dialer to call me? And why can't you people just like call me initially?" It has never happened. It goes straight into the same script of, "Hey John, this is Blair. With Conway, have you sold your home or whatever?" There's I can't think about of all the calls I've ever made, calling buyers or sellers, I've ever run into a decreased chance of converting someone because of that occurring.
I noticed you say Conway, not Conway Real Estate. Is there intention behind that?
There is very, very specific. So it's A, to shorten the time, because there's a lag time between when Mojo recognizes that they've picked up. So I want to deliver my message as quickly as possible. So real estate adds 2 words that I don't feel are important. And on the flip side, I feel if they hear real estate, I'm less likely to be able to convert them because they think realtor, and then I already know what this is about, and I have a harder chance of converting them. So I have intentionally deleted it. If someone is concerned about that, I would obviously have them check with their broker and stuff. I think my broker knows what I say. Maybe he doesn't. But if he isn't, he'll get the call, and he's used to getting a call anyway. So we're all good with it.
Thanks for answering that. And looks like we're drumming up a bunch more questions right now from Michael,
Awesome.
who asks about, and if I understand this correctly, I'm going to translate it a little bit because it's just been pasted in front of me in raw text form. For non-contact, and I'm assuming that just means the leads that you're calling, they don't pick up. So for non-contacts, what do you do, or what do you follow up with? You just put them back into the system and dial them again. What's your approach to those leads that you don't actually speak to?
So yeah, so they just stay, in this case, in Mojo, my CRM for expired data, and I continue to call whenever I call. I did export some to Follow Up Boss to text them, and I got shut down. So I'm not doing that presently. But if I choose to, maybe there's a certain address in an area that I really want to target. Maybe put them in my cell phone and text them there. But basically, yes, they stay in my CRM Mojo, and I continue to call as basically until that person has sold their home, or that's it, or they list with me. You know, the rudeness, I'm used to it. Sometimes if they're extremely rude, like I'll delete them, but that doesn't necessarily get me. So yeah, they stay in the CRM until essentially they list or die.
So I've had a number of live prospecting sessions I've been a part of, and so if I understand you correctly, it sounds like you've got your list of past expireds, and that list grows as past.
Is Lonnie there? Lonnie.
What?
Go ahead.
Okay. So you got your list of past expireds, and you just keep calling them into either A, they're super rude and you delete them, or they list with you, or they've already sold that house. And do you make notes anywhere on that as you go for you to know next time you call, or you just don't even care? And then you know if they're in your CRM, they haven't listed and they haven't been extremely rude to you.
So I'm drawing a blank, but I think, well, no, maybe it wasn't on this session, but so basically, yes, they will get deleted if they have sold, and there's, in my opinion, at that time, 0 chance that I can transact with them in some fashion. Otherwise, they stay there. In Mojo, I'll make whatever other notes I can. You know, if they say, we're not going to consider selling for 6 months, and I go through my script and dialogue, and there's just no way they're going to list right now, I will make a note, you know, not selling right now, and then move them into a group, future follow-up, hot lead, whatever, and then schedule a follow-up plan, maybe to mail them a send out card, maybe to text them right after the call to say, hey, it was great speaking with you. I'll follow up with you in a couple months, something like that.
Awesome. And is there any particular disposition or folder that you put them in?
Generally speaking, it's future follow-up or hot lead.
4804.
Which are Mojo, I think they're just standard templated categories in Mojo.
Okay. So, what are you going to do next after we wrap up today's call?
I have a list appointment, so headed to that one, and then some other uh, appointment type stuff, and then some personal errands. Come back to the office, hit the dialer for some follow ups, and then new leads.
So, is that your normal schedule or close to it?
So the quick answer is no. I don't have a normal schedule. I would like to say I'm. Hi, is Leonard there?
0.
I would like to say I have a normal schedule where I show up at the office at 8 and I call new or
7, 4, 8,
I call expireds for 2 hours, but it doesn't happen. Uh, my my schedule is show up at the office at 8, do what I need to do, try to hit the dialer as soon as possible, but most importantly, I have to be on the phone for 2 hours every day. And then whatever else I need to do. So, create a video and post it to social media or whatever. But the goal is 2 hours of dialing every day. That's my schedule. Don't always accomplish it, but that's my biggest goal. If I've done that, what I need to have happen in my business will happen. So no, there is no normal day. I'm not saying creating a schedule isn't important. It's very important. It's just I don't I'm not good with sticking to it. I'm more about my task and my goal and my activity of my dialing. Everything to me is based around dialing. That's what my business is. I'm not an open house person. Nothing wrong with them. I'm not necessarily a past client person. Nothing wrong with them. I'm a dialer. Expireds, buyers, you name it. Give me some names and numbers. Let me call, and that's where I excel.
I love that. That was great. Do you have an ideal? And no, go on.
4, 6.
And that doesn't mean anyone watching, like they have to be a dialer. That's what I've excelled at. If you're awesome at open houses, go kill it there. I have just found I can do this from my office at any time. Um, I don't need to dress up for it. I can do whatever whenever I want here, making dials, and I'm not afraid of door knocking. I'll do it. I'm not going to do it now with the pandemic and stuff. I don't think that's the wisest decision, but dialing is where I'm at, and I can look back at my business and any year where I haven't done well. It's because I didn't make my dials. And for other agents who excel at open houses and maybe their business was off, maybe it's because they didn't do as many open houses as they should or could have. But I will say in this time, if you're in an area where you can't do open houses and you can't do all this other stuff, I know there's some states that have said no cold calling right now. I don't consider this cold calling. These are all people that have had their home on the market at some point and they're a warm dial to me. There will always be a chance to make dials, whether it's to your past clients, Sphere, expireds, FISBOs, whatever. The money will always be in the phone, period.
I couldn't ask for a better segue into wrapping things up. And so, if you want to close down your session and we can kind of transition to the next part of our show, where I thank you for during today's time you've spent with us to put yourself out there, share a little bit about what's working, what always works for you, what you know works for you. So that way, the agents who are sitting at home considering, well, nothing's happening, I shouldn't do anything, you've given them a glimpse into what can happen, what they can do, and probably ought what they should be doing, regardless of circumstances. And so, thank you, Blair, for taking the time today to come on here, share your thoughts, bring us inside your world in business.
Got it. Thanks for having me. Let me know if you need anything else.
Absolutely. And so just a little housekeeping here for everybody still watching. We've got Ricky Caruth coming up later today. I think it's 1:30 Mountain Time. Go look up a time zone schedule if you need help with that. I know I do. We're going to be talking about what he's hearing, what he's saying, what he's advising his inner circle of people to do, as well as look at the schedule for the other upcoming people this week. And if you're not already on the list to in to receive the updates, we do these daily, sometimes twice a day right now, to keep the positivity and productivity up, to give you a glimpse into what's working, what to say, what to do during these times. That's why we're calling this the Stability and Opportunity Podcast, because in every crisis, there's opportunity. And so we're here to find what those things are so you know what to say and do as we find our way through this. I'm Justin Zimmerman. See you on the next episode today.